Why Robert Kiyosaki says the middle class is doomed. Why is it that a significant number of people who put in a lot of effort have a hard time getting ahead, even when they act in accordance with all of the rules? Why does it appear that wages are not changing for the foreseeable future, while prices continue to go up year after year? Why is it that it seems like achieving true financial freedom is becoming increasingly difficult to accomplish, regardless of how much money you put away, how much money you invest, or how much planning you do? Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, believes that every member of the middle class ought to be asking these kinds of unsettling questions immediately. He believes that this is the case. At the time that Kiyosaki makes the statement, "the middle class is doomed," it is not merely a sensational headline that is meant to stir up discussion. Rather, it is a statement that should be taken seriously. This is a terrible assumption that is based on decades of tracking shifts in the global economy, changes in the labor market, and what he refers to as the financial education crisis. It is a frightening assertion because it is based on these things. According to his point of view, the economy of the middle class is not prepared for the rapid transformation that the world is currently undergoing. He has the impression that they are unable to break free from outmoded beliefs and methods that were effective in the past, but are now proving to be inadequate to the point of danger. Therefore, in order to comprehend his point of view, you must first question everything that you have been taught to know about matters pertaining to finances. A separate era gave rise to the conventional path, which comprises achieving great grades, enrolling in college, having a solid employment, acquiring a home, methodically accumulating money, and retiring with a pension, or 401k. This path was formed during a distinct time period, a road that was designed for an economy that persisted throughout the industrial age, not the fast digital, inflation-prone, and unstable global market that we are today confronted with is the one that we are referring to here. Kiyosaki contends that this method does not deliver the same level of certainty that it had previously promised. This is the point that he presents. According to him, it is currently guiding millions of individuals down a path that will neither take them to financial success nor anywhere else. There are fundamental weaknesses in the structure of the middle class, and inflation is one of the cracks that may be found in this framework. A great number of individuals are acutely aware of the consequences of inflation, despite the fact that they do not have a clear understanding of how inflation operates. There is a steady upward trend in the prices of groceries, healthcare, education, and housing, which frequently outpaces the increase of salaries. Middle-class people usually have cash on hand or are burdened by fixed salaries, in contrast to the wealthy, who have the resources and the knowledge to invest in assets that profit from inflation, such as real estate, commodities, and stocks, for example. They are left defenseless as a result, with their purchasing power falling as the worth of their money that they have fought so hard to achieve diminishes in quiet. In a famous remark, Kiyosaki is cited as saying, "Savers are losers." Upon initial glance, it appears to be absurd and even offensive. On the other hand, his point is that in a system of economics in which governments run deficits and central banks print money, just hoarding cash without putting it to use would result in a progressive drop in the value of your money over time. In the meantime, individuals who have a firm grasp of the system, that is, those who buy assets, leverage debt in a responsible manner, and comprehend taxation, observe an increase in their wealth even during times of crisis. Kiyosaki is of the opinion that the middle class has a misunderstanding of debt, which is another example of a weapon. It is not the case that every single debt is created equal. While the middle class is frequently smothered by the load of bad debt, which he refers to as auto payments, college loans, and credit card bills, the affluent make use of good debt in order to purchase assets that create revenue. On the other hand, the wealthy make use of bad debt in order to purchase assets that generate money. For instance, a loan that is used to acquire an investment property can both increase the value of the property over time and be a source of cash flow for the investor. The use of debt to support consumption, on the other hand, serves no purpose other than to perpetuate a cycle of financial reliance. According to his point of view, the lack of awareness regarding financial matters is possibly the most detrimental issue that works against the middle class. When children are in school, they are taught how to work, but they are not taught how to handle money, how to invest, or how to produce wealth. The majority of individuals never learn how to discriminate between an asset and a liability, as well as how to examine risks and possibilities. This is something that they never learn. People have a tendency to rely on what they consider to be safe, such as solid jobs, retirement funds, and property ownership when they do not have access to this information. However, they are unaware that these safe bets are no longer as secure as they were in the past. Kiyosaki also warns against the dynamic character of the labor market, which is constantly shifting. Long gone are the days when one could have a job for life and automatically receive a pension without any questions being asked. Automation, outsourcing, and the emergence of the gig economy have all created an environment in which job stability is difficult to come by and benefits are becoming increasingly scarce. This climate has been created as a result of the combination of these three factors. As a consequence of this change, a significant number of workers in the middle class are left vulnerable, with fewer safety nets and higher financial volatility than in previous generations. The tax system is another issue that contributes to the unevenness of the playing field. Generally speaking, wealthy people pay a lower amount of taxes to the government than many others in the middle class do. This is due to the fact that wealthy people are better knowledgeable with the regulations that control the system. They also own real estate, run businesses, and invest in ways that allow them to receive favorable tax treatment. In addition, they run businesses. Individuals who are classified as belonging to the middle class, on the other hand, are subject to the highest rates of taxation on their salaries. Furthermore, they do not have access to the same financial strategies that can reduce the amount of income that is subject to taxation. As a consequence of this dynamic, a cycle is created in which the middle class exerts greater effort but continues to fall more and further behind. In spite of this, the mindset is probably the most fundamental distinction that Kiyosaki identifies between people who are in the middle class and those who are wealthy. People in the middle class are frequently motivated by fear. They are fearful of losing their employment, afraid of taking risks, and afraid of failing. Fear is a typical motivator. Because of this, individuals are forced to make decisions that are conservative, such as continuing to work at a job that they do not enjoy, turning down opportunities to invest, or clinging to money as a method of surviving. Wealthy individuals, on the other hand, have a propensity to embrace a mentality that is defined by abundance and risk that is appropriately measured. They are conscious of the fact that experiencing failure is an inevitable component of the maturation process, and that wealth is obtained via the process of learning, adapting, and taking responsibility for one's actions. When Kiyosaki makes the assertion that the middle class is doomed, he is, in essence, announcing to the community that they need to wake up. The message that is being conveyed here is not one of gloom and doom. Rather, it is a warning against being complacent. Because the rules have been changed, people who continue to stick to outmoded ways of thinking will discover that they are increasingly isolated. This is because the rules have been updated. It is not his intention to fear people with this statement. Rather, he is saying it in order to jolt them awake. Kiyosaki is attempting to teach us that the underlying lesson that he is trying to impart with his dismal prophecy is empowerment. Despite the fact that the middle class is in jeopardy, there are still options for individuals to avoid sliding into that category. Unlearning the misconceptions that we have been taught about money, calling into question the system that we have accepted, and committing to continuing our financial education throughout our entire lives are the first steps that we need to take. In his perspective, those who are truly affluent are not just those who have money, but also those who have the knowledge and mindset to produce it, regardless of what the world throws at them. This is true whatever the circumstances may be. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.